The highly anticipated iPad Pro for 2020 is finally here. We have some pretty decent upgrades here, but as you'll come to find out, the 2018 iPad Pro was already leagues ahead of the competition. Like seriously, the 2018 iPad Pros were already lightning fast, and even I wondered what can be done to the iPad Pro in 2020 that would make it a standout upgrade from the 2018 model. By the looks of it, looks like Apple resorted to the accessory tactic. To get the complete package, Apple will be glad to sell you a $350 new Magic Keyboard that's set to release later on in May that incorporates a backlit keyboard, a trackpad, and a pass-through USB Type-C port. For those that do pick it up, 1. You will be a legend with that floating design, and 2. You must have some really deep pockets. But that review will come soon once it's released later on. Today's focus is on the new 2020 iPad Pros. I have the 11-inch and the 12.9-inch to unbox and review in silver and space gray. So let's unbox these babies and see if it's a worthy upgrade or not. Let's get started. I love these dual unboxings for real. Like, unboxing Apple products is just something so special. But anyway, Apple boxes as iconic as ever. We get the same typical white box here with an image of our new sexy wallpapers, front and center. Depending on what color you get, you'll get matching branding. So if you get silver, you'll get silver branding. And if you get space gray, this will obviously be gray. Apple logos and iPad Pro branding around the box like typical. And on the back, we have the contents of what's inside along with the specs associated with the iPad, including storage and all that cool stuff. But anyway, we'll skip the overly unnecessary large cutting tools and heed Apple's advice with this simple pull tab. Remove the protective plastic, lift off the lid, make sure to build that suspense, you can't skip that step, and voila, the new 2020 iPad Pro. We'll set that off to the side like always and dig deeper into the contents of our box to see what goodies we get. Surprise, surprise, we don't get much and it's more of the same thing. We see our literature packet with Designed by Apple in California, and inside we get a quick start guide, a warranty and information guide, and the coveted Apple stickers. Some of you guys have DM'd me before and asked me why the Apple stickers are so important. Just know guys, they are. Just know. Additionally, inside is our USB-C charging cable used to charge and sync our device, and I'm happy this is USB-C and not Lightning, and of course our 18-watt USB-C power adapter. Nothing much else inside. You're not going to miss out on anything with the other size depending on which you get. All the accessories will be the same. The only difference is the sizing to accommodate the bigger or smaller tablet. Now going over a quick tour of the device. Attention to detail is super apparent here, and Apple's designs are always extremely meticulous and purposeful to make the products be the most attractive in the industry. You have to admit, Apple products just always look so damn sexy. At the bottom, right in the middle, you'll see your USB-C port, flanked on both sides by those quad speakers, with 2 of them also being at the top. On the right-hand side, you'll see this tiny little pill shape. That is where you'll charge your Apple Pencil 2, as this is still supported with the newer Apple Pencil 2. Up to the top is your volume buttons. At the top, you have your sleep-wake switch, accompanied by those 2 extra speakers needed to complete that quad-core design, as well as 2 microphones right in the middle. On the left-hand side, you don't get much other than another microphone, and on the back is where all the magic happens. These 3 dots down at the bottom is your smart connector, needed to connect those additional optional accessories if you so choose. We have iPad branding, our big Apple logo right in the middle, and up at the top left is going to be your triple camera array. You'll have your 2 camera sensors as well as your LIDAR sensor, with the flash unit up at top and yet another microphone underneath the LIDAR sensor. And at the very top, you have this color match strip. This is for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi transparency so that you can get a strong signal all throughout. The design is still retained, and I really love that boxy kind of design. I really wish they would carry it over back onto the iPhone 12 line. That would be really dope. Now let's discuss the new camera array, since it's quite distinguishable from the previous generation. Instead of 1 single camera sensor, now we have 3, 2.5. Well, to start, the primary camera is a 12 megapixel sensor at f1.8, and now added to our new device, we now get a 10 megapixel ultra wide sensor at f2.4. And while both aren't exactly up to par with the likes of the 11 Pro or even the iPhone 11, they're both pretty good cameras nonetheless, and should work just fine for your typical photos when only having an iPad at the ready. You'll notice this opaque looking circle off to the side as well, and that's going to be our LIDAR scanner, which stands for light detection and ranging, and is as useful as you might expect. Apple's really trying to push augmented reality on us and is great for those kinds of applications. One that quickly comes to mind is the Measure app, which on my iPhone is notorious for getting every single measurement wrong 100% of the time. But from what I've seen just from playtesting with it, it is more accurate and fires away really quickly. Like it's an automatic process. It doesn't need to pan around to get a good sense of your surroundings. It does it immediately, which I think is pretty cool since this kind of technology is typically not found on mobile devices. You see, LIDAR is highly sophisticated technology that one day in the near future could become the standard, but this technology is normally used on like NASA equipment or self-driving cars to create a depth map. It essentially bounces light off objects to measure the distance. So again, probably not too useful for the average individual, especially since most day-to-day scenarios will never really utilize this technology. Not even in the portrait shots for the rear camera, it's only on the front-facing camera where you get that depth sensing. Weird. I mean, while it sounds like I'm complaining, I'm not, or maybe just a little. It's a welcome addition for sure, but I'd never be the guy to say, boy, can't wait to buy a new iPad Pro and take advantage of those AR capabilities. I don't know, I just don't use AR enough to justify upgrading. Which leads me now to my next point. The chipset featured on this is the A12Z Bionic, and that name just sounds super bougie. So you'd think it'd have bougie specs, right? Well, not really. You see, on Twitter, they're calling this the A12ZZZ, as in like snoring. Geekbench scores show their improvements against the prior generation, but just barely. Really? You'd have to be living under a rock or need Jesus in your life to say that the previous A12X Bionic found on the 2018 iPad Pro is slow, because it's not. Now, Apple completely skipped the A12Y just like they went from the iPhone 8 to the iPhone 10. Like, what's going on here? But it's not called the A12Z to signify any form of performance improvements. I guess we're lucky Geekbench even shows us any gains as small as they are. The Z in the A12Z signifies that the LIDAR scanner is able to make a quantum leap in the perception of depth. And since I graduated with an applied mathematics degree, this is right up my alley. In other words, the Z-axis or the three-dimensional plane. That's why it's called the A12Z. So that is cool and all, but think your average consumer will be finessed since we typically associate any extra letter or number on the chipset to correlate with higher, more beefier gains. In other words, it's basically the same chip, only with depth perception capabilities. There, I summed it up to you in one sentence. However, while on the topic of specs, the new 2020 iPad Pros reportedly have 6 GB of RAM across all configurations, 2 GB more than all but the top tier 1 TB model from 2018. Dimension-wise, these two new tablets are identical to their predecessors, meaning all previous cases should work in theory, but I imagine most cases will look silly because of that new triple sensor design. The only other slight difference is to their weights, but it is negligible. The Wi-Fi only version of the 11-inch weighs 471 grams, compared to 468 grams for the 2018 model, while the 2020 12.9-inch iPad Pro weighs 641 grams, as opposed to 631 grams for the 2018 12.9. Like I mentioned in my Air review, I think this quarantine weight is really starting to show on us humans, and it seems our tech is following suit on it too. Sheesh. Thankfully, Apple pulled through with the extra base storage strategy they did with the MacBook Airs, and I'm super thankful. The base 11-inch iPad Pro starts at $799 for 128 GB and tops out at $1,299 for 1 TB of storage on the Wi-Fi only models, cheaper than the previous 2018 high-end models by a sizable amount. On the 12.9-inch end, we get a $999 starting price, which again gets you 128 GB and tops out at $1,499 for the 1 TB Wi-Fi only model, but otherwise pretty much remains the same. This kind of reminds me like an S upgrade within the iPhone line, like for real. It's small changes that do make it more attractive. It's like adding all those unnecessary accomplishments to your resume, just trying to generate more clout so you land that job, you feel me? We still have that amazing liquid retina display with the 11-inch coming in with a screen resolution of 1668 by 2388 at 264 pixels per inch, and the 12.9-inch coming in at 2048 by 2732 screen resolution at the same 264 pixels per inch. As for battery, for some stupid reason, Apple never likes to disclose the size of their batteries, so they leave it up to teardown channels to figure it out, but they still promise 10 hours of battery. All I'm gonna say for that is, we gon' see, Apple. We gon' see. Stay tuned for my 2020 edition of my iPad battery drain test, where I test out every single iPad on Apple's current iPad lineup. It seems you guys wanted to see that video, even though the Air and Mini have yet to be refreshed, since over 85% of you guys said yes, make the test, on my community poll, so I appreciate everyone who participated. Apple Pencil 2 support is still here, and is as fluid as ever with that 120Hz refresh rate and the 240Hz touch refresh rate, and makes for an unbelievable viewing experience. Additionally, Apple is really pushing that trackpad support, and luckily, I have my black Magic Trackpad 2 here to pair with. It's really nice, supports multi-gestures with a few new ones that take time to get used to if you're coming from a Mac. I mean, you don't get a standard traditional cursor, it's more of this black circle that highlights clickable actions. I mean, basically really like a finger hovering over, and it's more intuitive than ever now that we have iPad OS. Really steps the game up and can actually be a good replacement for a MacBook, honestly. I do love the cursor support, but since I already have a MacBook, I'm not as intrigued about it. I don't know. But I would imagine folks who have neither an iPad or a MacBook would find this a pretty attractive feature since this thing is more powerful than hundreds of PC laptops out on the market. I'm really excited for the new Magic Keyboard to be released in May. That's when I'll know how much of a game changer this new iPad truly is. Ring that bell to not miss out on any of the action. In the end, we get small improvements. Other small improvements include Wi-Fi 6 if your router supports it, and much improved microphones for audio recording or even for starter YouTubers. I mean, the audio quality is getting top tier. It's now similar in quality to the microphones on the MacBook Pro. I mean, have a listen for yourself. What I'm saying right now is being recorded on the iPad Pro audio. What do you think? Sounds pretty good to me. So while this is, at least to me, an S upgrade if you will, this is still my favorite tablet and is now getting even better with these extra quality of life improvements for sure. The A12Z and improved depth sensing capabilities is super nice. The extra camera lens and LIDAR scanner is awesome, and all the other small improvements. Could this replace my MacBook Pro though? Right now? No. Not until that magic accessory is out and I will be able to make a better decision based off of concrete specs and user experience. For now though, this is a formidable tablet and the best on the market probably by a long shot. Just imagine if the iPad line one day gets full support for Final Cut Pro and Motion and even Logic Pro, then at that point, absolutely this could replace my MacBook Pro. But until then guys, if you have the 2018 iPad Pro, you won't really be missing out on much unless that AR and LiDAR scanner are essential to your productivity. Stay tuned guys as I plan to review the new Magic Keyboard that is to be paired with this new iPad as well as my infamous battery drain test on all the iPads. Thanks for watching and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.